Once we have a cost calculation, now we can talk about how much we should charge. And so I'm going to give you a couple different ways that people approach pricing, and I'm going to tell you my favorite way. And there's probably more than this, but gross profit margin, a lot of businesses operate off of this gross profit margin number. They're like, we want, and this is different than a markup, okay? They say we want to make a minimum of 30% gross profit margin on the job. And so some people establish a gross profit margin number that they're not willing to go in between. And it's very easy to be able to calculate your gross profit margin on a particular job when you know your costs. A lot of business, I'd say more common in this industry, operate off of a markup, or you may have heard it referred to as a keystone method, where we're doubling the cost to get a selling price, at wholesale, and potentially triple or quadrupling, or I'm sorry, I should say doubling the wholesale cost to get retail, okay? Don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that. However, I do think it leaves you out of the market at certain points and short on profit at different points. And then the third is, for the lemonade model, is profit per cup or profit per shirt. I really like this model as a baseline rule because it basically says, as a small business, if you are a small business, I'm going to be standing at that heat press or when we first start, and I'm probably going to be pressing most of the shirts, right? How many of you are pressing the shirts in your business right now? Okay, how many of you have somebody that you employ to press shirts? Couple. Okay, so we got a good mix. That's good. But for the most part, it takes time, it takes money to complete each shirt. In the heat printing world, there's really no way other than maybe a little bit of automation and equipment to change that equation too much. It just takes time, and you do them one by one. That's why when you get over quantity, we go to screen printing, right? And heat printing's for a certain job size. And so I like to focus on this profit per shirt model because that makes me focus on the right type of work. When I'm at the heat press, I'm making sure I'm making at least $5 in profit every time that press locks down, right? And so it gives me a very defined profit goal. At least $5 in profit. Often, and usually, I make much more. But I look at that number all the time, and I try to maximize the value, of course, but I like that profit per shirt. It gives me a really quick and fast rule to make sure I'm not going to be flowing a lot of low, cheap, inexpensive work through the business and spending my time on it when I can be focused on other clients and other jobs that are more profitable. Okay, so we have our cost that we just calculated, $10.18. Our rule of gross profit margin on this would sell at 30%, if that was our number, would sell that shirt for $14.55. Markup at the keystone method would sell that shirt at that cost for $20.36 wholesale. Profit per cup at $5, and again, I'd encourage you to set your number on what makes sense for you, is $15.18. I will say, though, don't set your number too low. If you know your customer, if you're providing unique value to them and giving them a service that makes them want to do business with you, it's hardly ever do I make less than $10 in profit per shirt. Sometimes I'll do it because a client needs an order to be able to keep that client buying from me versus finding another printer. So you'll make exceptions to this on certain things, but depending on how you're structuring your business and who you're targeting, often there's a lot of profit available if we create unique value. Can everybody read this on the bottom? Can you read it with me? The price is 10 cents, right? Why I make people do that is because you'll have customers, again, that say, what's the price? You don't know how powerful it is just to say the price is, boom, and do that. It's a statement. It is what it is, okay? It's not, depending on the, so be confident with your pricing approach. So I just wanted to point out there. Next, should we offer choices, okay? So thinking about how we approach, right? When you approach any sales opportunity, whether you are quoting somebody for a wholesale order or whether we're at a retail event thinking about whether we should offer choices, I'm just talking about selling in general. You start to think about, should we offer choices? And what I want to ask you to do is offer no more than 3 choices if you're quoting out a job. I think 1 is fine if you feel like you're dialed in with that client. I usually prefer at least 2, but my favorite is to offer 3 choices. You know why? The customer may not have revealed their price objection yet, but you can trust that everybody wants a better price, don't they? And so I love this good, better, best mentality when you are presenting products. So you have a customer that comes in, They want to order 100 shirts for whatever it is, and you've identified a style of shirt that you think will work for them based on their budget, and that's an important question. Ask budget and timeline and get that information before you do all the work, and then you can put that sweet spot right at the better, okay? Right in the middle. And that being right in the middle means instead of asking you to do a better price on exactly what you've identified fits their needs, now we have a good option. And so if you want a discount, I've already proactively come up with a style or a decoration or something that's just a little less expensive for me to make as a decorator that's going to give you a savings, okay? And then I love having the best, of course, because you'd be surprised when somebody sees something that wows them, whether it's, headwear decoration and we do like a flex style or a 3D molded thing that they didn't even ask for, they just wanted something basic, you'd be surprised at how many people would find a little bit more in their budget to have something premium, right? So I love good, better, best. How does that work in the case of the lemonade stand? You'll be able to apply those concepts to your t-shirt sales because it's not just as simple as I'm going to cut $1 off of it for this option, I'm going to add $1 for this option. You should be approaching it more strategically than that. So when we look at good, better, best, we're just going to say the cost of the cup of lemonade for our standard, the price is 10 cents option is 5 cents. How much profit are we making per cup? Easy math. All right, we're good today. All right, so I love putting that better, that 5 cents profit equation for me, right in the middle. That's the expectation. Now, I don't know who wouldn't want a spike lemonade. Maybe some people wouldn't be allowed to have it, but think about what are your options. Like, how are we going to move up or down from that? Sometimes how we do this is by the decoration, and we keep the blank the same. Sometimes how we do this is by varying the garment, which I think is one of the easier ways to do it, because you can go through most wholesale apparel catalogs and know, here's a carded cotton t-shirt, here's a step up from that that's going to be a nicer, ring spun cotton, and you know what, we're going to put something on top of it that's a tri-blend or something that's a little higher end. And so varying the blank to something more stylized, depending on your market, may be an easy way to get into this good, better, best philosophy without having to vary your decoration too much, okay? And so I wanted to point out the cost because, again, we need to know how much it costs us to make all three options. Once you guys start calculating this, you'll have your SKUs and your styles that you regularly quote, and you'll just know how much these cost to make. In this case, fictitiously, we're going to say we're going to offer water, lemonade, and spike lemonade at our lemonade stand. Those are going to be our three choices. There's the cost to make each one. So, how much are we going to sell the water and the spike lemonade for? What do you think? So our lemonade costs 10 cents. What do you think we should sell the water for? Any guesses? All right, you guys are thinking it. 7 cents? What do you think we should sell the spike lemonade for? 15, 20? Okay, cool. So here we go. For the water, I like a small reduction, okay? Often what you'll find, and here's the most important thing, what is the profit on the water? 6 cents, right? The profit on the lemonade is what? 5 cents, okay? So I want to make sure if somebody moves to good or best, I'm not going to compromise my profit, no how, no way, ever. Okay? I want that to work for me. In this case, I illustrated actually making more profit at the budget option just to let you know that that doesn't, when you're discounting a product, when you're presenting in this way, it shouldn't come as a sacrifice to your profit. So make sure your profit goals, again, I'm going to be standing at the heat press doing the work. I'm going to be serving the drink and pouring the drink and doing work. Why should I do it for less? I can accomplish both goals. I can present savings and still make the same or more profit as I present this way. And you guys nailed it on the spike price. I'm going to make sure I really maximize profit. Some of you said 15 or 20 cents. Yeah, go up in price is my point on the premium. Sometimes they're not going to jump there anyways, but when they do, it's really high value work for you. Okay? So just think about that. Never compromise your profit when you are presenting pricing. That's the number one lesson. Make sure you present 3 options. No more than 3 options, I should say. You don't always have to present 3, but I like presenting 3. And then make sure that you are saying the price is and delivering the price. All right, let's supercharge it now. We got the basics. Seems like a lot. It took us 45 minutes to get there, but we got the basics of what it costs and some ideas on setting selling prices. And now there's other ways to increase profit. You guys notice I'm hyper-focused on profit. That's what we're in business for, right, is to make money for ourselves or to make money for our cause. Even if we're a nonprofit, we want to generate maximum money for the cause. So like to be hyper-focused on profit. I don't really care what your top-line sales are. It's about how much profit do you make. That's what the number that should be most important in your business. Okay, so let's supercharge it. I'm looking for any potential way I can in a client interaction to be able to increase my profit equation. And you'll see add-ons increase AOV. And so we talked about this in another class, but that's what I consider a key performance indicator for your business that every business should know. That's your average order value. Okay? You want to know your average order value for all of your clients. I actually like to know it by segment. So if I'm serving 4 or 5 different segments, I'd like to know my average order value for the whole business, but I like to know it for embroiders and screen printers and sporting good dealers and everything in between. Why? Because that helps me focus on driving that number and being able to find more clients like that are most profitable for my business. So we look at average order value. And how are we going to supercharge it? Well, we're going to have some add-ons or mix-ins or whatever you want to call it, right? How can we bring that to apparel? And so this is really important. Point number 1 is these should be extras on top of the apparel. So I'm not suggesting that you give more choices and have them swap something. I'm saying once they get into the garment and they've looked at the 3 choices, you can say, would you like fries with that, right? Or something like that. Think about these add-ons and how they can add to the sale, not replace it, okay? One of the most effective ways to do that is what I consider value-added services. We actually have a whole section of our price grid that are value-added services and their standard pricing. So in the case of our decorating facility, if you want a hang tag, it's an add-on. There's a price for that, right? When we're selling to a client where the garment's going to go into retail. If you want custom tagless branding with a tearaway tag removed, there's a price for that. If you want personalization, if you want a name on the back, there's a price for that. If you want an extra brand logo on the sleeve, there's a price for that. So you see, we're building the value of every single item we're decorating and giving choices with the goal to increase the average order value. And so as a heat printer, I really believe you should think about personalization. That's one of the easiest ways to add more profit to every garment that you make. So whether that's a name, a number, a monogram, some way to personalize it or hit a unique placement, that's really going to maximize what you can do with your heat press that most screen printers hate. Anybody screen printing names? No, you'd be crazy. No hands go up for that question ever. Okay? So you can add personalization, add profit to the garment. But we don't want this to come at a sacrifice to making ourselves overly complex. And so there's a lot of information that from a business point of view that you're going to process it, but I will say it time and time again, the simplest to understand offer usually wins. So try to keep your offer very simple when you're presenting it to the client. What do you sell? How do I buy? There's no confusion. When you go to the lemonade stand, we know what they sell, and we know exactly how to buy. I want to give you an example to really cement this point home because I've shared this concept with people about simplifying and presenting 3 choices. And some people will launch a web store, and I'm not saying you shouldn't have assortment. You should have assortment, but you're providing a quote to the client. There's no value in saying these are 20 or 30 different options. It's just overwhelmed, right? That's your job. We're the consultant. We're the logo consultant, the apparel decorator consultant. We should curate the choices to understand our customer, show them that it's something that meets their needs. And so I believe it was Brown University did a study in a supermarket. They did an analysis, and what they did is in the supermarket they did a pop-up displays, and they were selling jellies, jams at the supermarket. So one day they set up the table, and they had literally 50 different styles of jellies and jams at the same time in the same supermarket, and they sold it. And what they found is that a ton of people stopped and shopped. Everybody was enamored by the selection, and a ton of people stopped and checked out what they were selling and had questions, and it was a success. Now, the very next day at the same time, you know what they did? They brought it down to only 3 styles of jellies and jams that they presented. The effect was not as many people stopped, but a lot more people purchased. And that's interesting, right? So they made it so that the work that they were doing was very focused and effective, and they didn't overwhelm the customer, and they were able to move to a decision. So just think about that in your business. How are we making it overly complex? The other reason I'm going to stress for you to simplify is it helps us to manage inventory better. Inventory, right? Can anybody find where we can buy white t-shirts even today, right? There's such an inventory issue right now in the apparel decoration industry where you guys are having to buy from multiple vendors to even fulfill an order. It's nuts. Like, it's crazy. And so now more than ever, we really need to simplify. So why don't I merchandise the business I'm doing on, a more neutral tone and try to take maybe a small inventory position in that to make sure I'm equipped and I can hit the turn time and do what I need to do, okay? So think about it, that keeping it simple helps you from an inventory perspective with what you need to source, what you need to stock, but it also helps on throughput. If we can get a lot of people working into the same garment styles, if we can get a lot of people ordering transfers, I can build volume into my ordering habits and I can actually reduce cost as I achieve volume, okay? Whether that's freight costs or whatever, you'll see your costs go down, and that's one way keeping it simple helps. A few more concepts before I lose you all that I want to point out. And so we should have a good understanding of setting up, pricing, some tips for your business to make sure we're focused on profit and how we present choices. But there's a couple other key things that I just want you to think on when we think of why people buy from a lemonade stand. Of course, from a practical application, I'm thirsty, right? This quenches the thirst and it's refreshing. We stop at that stand on a hot day and we purchase because it's refreshing, because we need a drink. That's practical application. So don't lose sight of why your customer is purchasing branded apparel. Why do your customers purchase branded apparel? Of course they need to wear clothes, so we don't have to talk about that one. But why do they purchase branded apparel over any other type of apparel? What do you think? Style, right? Name. Quality. Yeah. The end of it, it's visibility and impressions, right? They want to affiliate and increase that brand. I don't care if it's a school, a business, whoever the client is, a statement t-shirt that's for an individual consumer, they have something to express or they affiliate with a brand or a certain thing, and they're going to express that through the clothing they wear. And so it's really important to understand that from a practical application, the motivation of the buyer and whoever you're talking to and why they are buying. Because it's really going to drive me to take care of their brand and present something that works for them, what they're trying to accomplish. So it's not a bad question to ask, why are you looking for branded apparel for this particular job? Because you can start to understand their motivations and what's behind that. And so that's a very practical thing. So emotional. Why do people buy from a lemonade stand? You feel like you're contributing, right? You feel like you're supporting that kid, that young entrepreneur, and you want to buy and you want to support that, even if you're not thirsty. I've seen people pay $5 for a 10-cent glass of lemonade. Why? Because they're somehow connected in such a way that they want to support. So think about that in your business. Yes, we're motivated by profit, but we should be about something bigger in our business. I think as entrepreneurs, we have that opportunity to be about something more than just money for us. And so I would encourage you to think about how you tie into your community. If you're a local decorator, how do you impact your community? We should be a part of that community, advertising, buy local, and being part of that local business owners, whether it's our Chamber of Commerce or whatever. Those connections are only going to lead to more opportunities, and people are going to want to do business with you over somebody else because of the way you're investing into whatever that thing is, whether it's your community or some other cause. So think about that, think about why we buy, and see if there's some way in our business that we can be more than just about selling t-shirts. I think that will help to unlock more potential and certainly more referrals and leads and people that want to do business with you. Psychological. Why do we buy? Because we trust it, right? Nobody walks up to a lemonade stand and doesn't trust that little girl or that little boy that's there selling lemonade. And so you have this innocence, this purity that we think about when we think of a kid. But the point I'm trying to make here is you need to establish trust in your business. I always say that those early conversations, what they're doing is they're establishing trust and credibility. So if you do exactly what you say you're going to do on the time that you're going to do it and you promise to do it, you'd be amazed at how much more likely you are to get the sale. I've managed salespeople for 10 years, and the ones that don't follow up when they say they're going to do something, you guys don't want to buy from them, right? You don't want to buy that heat press if they didn't do what they said they were going to do or whatever the product is, because their word wasn't shown through early in the conversation. So think about that. How can we establish this trust and credibility with our potential customers? It's great to say our stuff's quality, it doesn't wash off. It's even more powerful to say, hey, I did a job for this decorator over here, and start to tie in stories and testimonials from other clients. It's much more powerful if you can have those testimonials working for you to build trust, and you don't have to say, look at how great I am. Somebody else can say, look at how great he or she is, right? So think about that. So we started with a very basic equation, right? We were just trying to parallel how can you turn your heat press into a lemonade stand. And we got to a lot of business tips and a lot of business insight that I'm hopeful can help you as you're looking to grow. Just to recap, I would encourage you to understand your cost, to make sure you pay yourself so eventually you can grow and replace yourself, to make sure you are calculating overhead into your cost equation because your building is not free, and so you want to make sure you're not leaving profit on the table, to truly think about simplifying when you set selling prices and positioning things as good, better, best so you're less open for price negotiation, making sure that good, better, best is tied into more profit when customers move up or down. Look for opportunities to increase your average order value for add-ons and supercharging it, as we put it, or mix-ins. Think about your product assortment so it works for that average order value and not against it. Why sell 2 t-shirts or 3 t-shirts? Why not, when we launch a web store, a t-shirt, a bag, a jacket, so somebody can increase their average order value? And then mostly just to think about why your customer buys, and more specifically why they buy from you, and make sure everything you're investing in your business is creating unique value for your customer so you can win more orders.